hoping that this is a good angle because I'm not entirely sure. Okay, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Siren Talks. This episode is, like many others, inspired by my burning rage against patriarchy. And like most days, I was pondering the complete and utter chaos of a system that we live in. And you know what? Let me lighten that up. I was thinking about the beautiful, amazing, expansive, ever-changing world that we live in. But I was also thinking about a lot of double standards that exist in the world. I was thinking about social behaviors and the interpretations of social behaviors by other people, by yourself, from yourself. I was thinking about the paradox between living in a world where you are perceived while simultaneously being fearful of that very thing, right? Like the paradox of craving external validation, yet also fearing being perceived. And like, I feel like that's something that I ponder pretty often. Not pretty often, but I go through stages in my life. I would like to characterize myself as a very like open, free spirit person. I typically am very like unfazed by external social chatter, and typically the opinions that other people have about me, unless they're like someone close in my social circle, which I keep very small, unless it's some sort of social criticism or commentary coming from people that I love genuinely with my heart and soul. Unless it's those people, I don't really care what people say. I've kind of always been that way. I feel like the nature of my life has kind of rewarded me with that. The adversity that I faced growing up kind of allowed me to develop the courage to really embrace myself and my authenticity and my boldness and my craziness and all the other things that characterize me. And I learned from a very young age that I am not the easiest person to deal with. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I am some people's morning coffee, if you know what I mean. Like that fix that, you know, that I need, that addiction, that love. What I'm trying to say is that I have experienced a lot of different kinds of people and have been honestly really blessed in how many spaces or corners of the world that I've been able to be present in. And you know, people react to me differently. People either really love me. Usually people really love me. People like really love me. Like more often than not, like when people love me, they like really love me. And sometimes it's like, okay, this is too much. It becomes obsessive. It becomes like weird. And especially like men, especially older men, like not only older men, but older men. And on the flip to that, or like women, like when women like me, it's very like explosive and passionate and like sudden and like confessional in terms of like they're just like outpouring their love for me, like they like are, you know, like so open and receptive with their love, and that's really awesome. And something that I've also learned about myself is that people like trust me a lot, which really makes me happy. But like people, okay, this has to be another conversation. But do you ever just like find yourself in situations where people tell you things that they do not need to tell you? Like I've been in so many situations, especially like in my later teen, older adult years, have found myself, especially with my traveling, I have found myself in so many situations where I'm a people person, like it genuinely takes me 5 minutes to feel like I've known a person for like my life. Like I am a lover like that. Like I can be friends with someone in 5 minutes. I can love someone and literally think I'm going to marry them in 5 minutes as well. It doesn't matter the case. I mean, like, is that usually the case? No. But, like, in the moment, it feels like that. So it's really easy for me to, like, keep my walls down and be vulnerable for the sake of connection and love. But with that being said, I, like, attract so many different kinds of people. And listen, I don't judge. Like, I really don't judge. Like, I have had genuinely the craziest life. And, like, only the people that really know me know, like, how deep it gets. But I have lived, like, oh my gosh. Like, I feel like I live in a state of pure like admiration for my life, but also like what the fuck. like my life has genuinely like movie, and I'm not saying that to be like, oh, main character of my life. Like, I'm not sure if I really believe in main character of my life. I believe more in like I'm the author of my life and I write my life and this is my life and I'm gonna live my life the way that I want to. And with that attitude, like I've lived my life. I've lived a beautiful, insane life, and I'm so young and I have so much more to go, but I've seen almost everything, and so I really go into everything with like an open mind and an open heart. And I really don't judge easily unless like people give me a reason to judge. But yeah. With all that being said, that was a whole bunch of talk about how people perceive me and what I think about being perceived and how I feel about being perceived. And that is something that I've thought about my whole life, but more recently I have been thinking about, because as I get older, I do feel like a lot of my attention has drifted towards like very superficial things like that. And it's unconscious. It's all an unconscious process that you sort of slip into in this world of social conditioning where everything you do is sort of monitored and watched at such a in such an intimate way. And like with social media and AI and all these things and like surveillance, like I feel like we're all just so on a human level, and I'm gonna get into more the intricacies of this topic, but on a human level, you know, when we're babies, we are the complete embodiment of freedom, right? We express our needs. We don't hold back when we feel a certain way, if we're in pain, if we're uncomfortable, if we're happy, if we're feeling anxious or jittery, right? If we need to use the bathroom, if we need attention, if we need food, if we need any kind of care and affection or any way, right? We naturally have the ability to express ourselves and our needs and our wants without any hesitation. But as we go on in life, as we grow, along the way, we are stripped of that ability. And we are told what we can and can't do, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Our actions are either praised or demonized or rejected or scrutinized. And everything that we do suddenly becomes this calculated sort of tactic based on what we think the response is going to be from the rest of the world. And how terrorizing, right? Like how terrorizing to constantly feel, because when you think, your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking and what is, right? So in your brain, reality can be whatever you think it is. And we know that, right? Reality can be whatever you think it is. If you are thinking about, or if you are constantly thinking about what other people are thinking about you, or if you're constantly thinking about the reaction that you're going to get from other people, what they're going to say, what they're going to think, how it's going to translate, suddenly everything you do, the purpose, the fuel, the passion for the things that you do are no longer within your control. That control is now by you given to the external world. It's given to other people. And that's where that agonizing feeling comes in, because it starts manifesting in all sorts of ways into our life, right? We start feeling physically trapped, confined within our own mind and within what we think are the perceptions of other people. And this brings me to one of the like sort of biggest like philosophical inquiries on external validation and social perception. And this is Sartre's idea of it made me think of this quote that we often use in modern day when we say hell is other people. And from what I understand, this quote stems from one of Sartre's books or plays. I think it was a play or something about one of Sartre's plays about three human beings who end up like being like let's just say like locked in jail or something. And I'm butchering this, but whatever. They're locked in jail, and one guy is like, honestly, it doesn't matter. That's not really that important. But these three people are locked together in this room. And after only some time of talking and kind of bickering and arguing, do they realize that the other two people in the room are like the embodiment of, they're both designated torturers to the person perceiving them. So everyone sees the other two people as like these designated torturers. And only do they realize after talking for so long that they're in hell. And then they realize that they're dead and this is hell and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But the stories that these three people have, one of them is like an outcasted, what was he? Let's see. No Exit. It's called No Exit. Yeah, I was like, wait, why is it? It's slipping my mind. Okay, yeah. Okay. These three deceased individuals are trapped together in a single room in hell, intended as their eternal punishment, where they become each other's torturers, leading to Sartre's famous declaration that other people is hell. One of the guys is a journalist who was shot for deserting the war, sort of like this, like, sort of like, he was seen as this, like, coward, and so he was, like, exiled. So he's in hell for his cowardice. Another person is this woman is a postal worker who's in hell for seducing her cousin's wife, who subsequently killed herself. And the other woman is an elegant but self-absorbed young woman who wants only to be admired. She's in hell for having an affair with her husband's friend, which resulted in a child. She then drowned, leading to the lover's suicide. Wow. Okay. So, regardless of their stories, it all points back to that quote, hell is other people. All of these people are, I mean, like, in this book and, like, physically, fictionally, but, like, physically, are in hell because of the ways in which they seek external validation from the rest of the world. Their death and now their experience with hell is a product of caring only about what other people's perceptions are about you. Okay, I found my wording rather confusing, so I wanted to sum it up a little bit more concisely and clearly. But I'm trying to explain how I think that their experiences all embody how all of these individuals are trapped by their past actions and by the judgments of other people, right? They're unable to escape perceiving themselves, self-perception, and they're all then they're inflicted with the torment of being perceived by other people for the rest of their lives, aka the two other tormentors. And so, like, this is, like, really crazy because, like, people in society does this, like, all the time, right? Like, we are constantly reaffirming the fact that we believe these things. Think about, like, counter movements to these very notions. Like, modern day cancel culture. Cancel culture was created to... Well, what am I trying to say here? Well, actually, these are actually I feel like cancel culture is, like, actually reinforcing this idea that we're limited by external perception. That's actually, well, so what I was trying to say is that modern manifestations of this very notion, like cancel culture, reinforce our very involvement in these beliefs, right? The fact that something like cancel culture exists, which is founded on the notion that we believe that as a society, the individual should care about what the rest of us think. Also dictate their happiness and sense of self-worth on these very external opinions. And that in cancel culture is implemented through the act of, it's kind of like jury and like suspect, or like whatever that person is that's on trial. Whatever that person is that's on trial, right? It's like all of a sudden society is now playing the jury and now has the control of dictating whether or not what this person did or said or whatever was just or not, or cool or not, or whatever the case may be. And that's really interesting that we are a society that not only rejects or has this fear of being perceived and wants to reject being dependent on external validation to feel inner stability and security, while simultaneously reinforcing those very notions or those very systems of thought through movements like cancel culture. It's interesting. And as a woman, I know, I mean, for generations, for hundreds, thousands of years, this has been something that we've been talking about, right? Simone de Beauvoir. She talks about this in obviously many of her texts, but in The Second Sex, where she talks about the experience women have in the world where they are from birth conditioned to believe that they are second to men, and that everything that they do is to be considered or molded by or validated by the male gaze. And I mean, I have a million thoughts to say about that. I could dedicate a whole podcast or 2 or 3 or 4 to de Beauvoir, because I have a lot of things. Me and her, we agree on a lot of things, but then there are also some things that I, would like to add on my own. But needless to say that this is a conversation that we've been having forever, and something that we're always going to have, because the roots are very deep. And it's funny being what feels like such a small and sort of insignificant human being or like a puzzle piece in this never-ending puzzle that is humanity, right? Like, there are 8 billion people on the world, and I'm just one of them currently living, and there have been billions of people before me, there will be billions of people after me. Yet these very phenomenons, these very sort of questions or conversations or experiences are affecting my very life. And upon further analyzation, are a key to kind of how my life has turned out in a lot of ways. And I mean, I really do think it's nearly impossible to really ever separate yourself from patriarchy in this lifetime. We'll never live in a world that it's not patriarchal, but I think that more now than ever, conversations like these are important to remind us that not only as women or as other, or if you're a person in the marginalized community, or if you're queer, if you're LGBTQ plus, if you are a black or brown, Afro-Latina, Latinx, colored, trans, whatever have you.
Boxer briefs that both men and women and non-binary people of all gender appropriations and the pronouns, everyone is included.
What I'm trying to say is that conversations like these are sort of those keys to reclaiming your power, right? To reclaiming your power to be able to define yourself. And within that power, because the power to be who you are is one of the only things that you can control in this world, in this life. You cannot control many other things besides being who you are. In fact, I think I argue that it's the only thing that you can control. There's nothing else besides being who you are, sticking true to who you are, discovering, being dedicated to pursuing yourself, and that pursuit of self-discovery, of expressing yourself and your creativity. That is the only thing that you can have control over. How much time and energy and effort you put into that, into growing, into changing, into learning, into becoming, right? That is just the beautiful thing about life. And that is where your power comes from. But we have unconsciously given that power to other people, or that power subconsciously have been taken away from you. And through things like, like social media and patriarchy and sexism and blah, 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 double standards and blah, blah, misogyny, blah, 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 blah. The list can go on. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to live in this constantly torturous reality of fearing being perceived by other people and being diluted to any mistake or decision or action or relationship or moment in time that people define you by. One thing that you're gonna have to get over in life is thinking that everyone is gonna have a good opinion about you, or everyone's gonna have a good impression. Sweetie, it's not gonna happen, baby. It's not gonna happen. Not everyone is gonna like you. And that's not because you're a bad person, or because you're boring or not cool, or whatever you think it is, that whatever reasons you think people may not like you. There are a plethora of reasons why people might not like you, and it's not that someone might not like you, just might not be for them, or it might not be the perfect time. Also, you don't like everyone. I think that we need to remind ourselves too that, like, if we were burdened with the task of having to like everyone, we can love everyone. That's different. We can have we can have a universal love and appreciation and reciprocal gratitude for humanity and being connected in our spiritual essence, but you don't have to like everyone, and not everyone is going to like you. And when you sit with that truth and you swallow it and you let it digest and you let it pass through you, I think that's where a lot of that releasing goes, where you can start to feel lighter and reclaim that power back to yourself. Because how exhausting is it to feel like you only exist within the lens of other people's eyes and other people's perceptions. Your reality then becomes not your own. And it's not even, and that gets back to the quote, the hell is other people. That sort of agonizing rumination of replaying what people think about you, or constantly caring about and working yourself up emotionally about what other people are saying. That agonizing process reminds me of something that I heard in a video, but it's like your perception of reality then is not what other people say, and more importantly, it's not what people say or think about you. It's not that, and it's not also what you think or say about yourself, but it's what you think other people are thinking and saying about you, that you're perceiving your reality to be. And when you think about it like that, how crazy and wicked and silly does that sound? Because there is endless room for misinterpretation and confusion, and it's so easy for there's no room for truth there. If we relied always on what we think we know, or what we think, or how we interpret things, we never have any real truth in what is, in our existence. And I don't know, I was thinking about that a lot recently, and I was like, maybe I should make a podcast episode on this, because I had recently faced a scenario where, like, I feel like I mean, as a woman, I experience double standards all the time, and I watch other women experience double standards as well. It's something that in a patriarchal society I'm going to have to experience, but I'm not going to let that drag me down, right? And I'm also not going to let those experiences don't dictate or validate my sense of self-worth or self-love, right? Like, external scrutiny is inevitable. People are gonna talk. People love to gossip. When people are bored, they indulge in various things, and gossiping is one of them. And I found myself, and I thought gossiping, I mean, like, yes, everyone gossips to a certain degree, but this level of gossiping, I was like, I thought this was like high school. Like, it had felt like someone talks about you on something that they don't know about, but they're talking about it. People start talking about it. It gets back to you, and then you're like, wait, what? It's like when you tell telephone, when you're playing telephone, and someone says something in the beginning, and then what comes back to you at the end is something completely different. And then you're like, wait, where did all of this go wrong? Where did this go wrong? I'm confused. And it was funny to see how society had reacted to me moving on from a relationship versus my ex-partner, and how one of those was very quick and abrupt, very immediate, and one of those was like very gradual and slow, and eventually something else came back around, and you move on and you live your life. Like, you gotta move on, babes. Like, heartbreak hurts, yes, but like, there's something to learn in it. You need to feel the pain. You need to go, what do they say? The only way out is through. And I really feel that. And especially with this Aries moon, like this Aries full moon, I am feeling like I am just overflowing with passion and rage and fire. And it's like, oozing out all of the fear and anxiety and regret and like all the icky, gooey, heavy, burdensome emotions that I've been holding, attaching to my body for so long. But with that being said, like people say things and they judge the way that you like move on. And with women, you always get judged. Being a woman, you are always more judged than your male counterpart, right? You can do the same exact things, or you can do two completely different things. And objectively, you can do something a lot more rational and just, and you'll still be scrutinized. And the way that society framed those experiences of one woman moving on from a relationship and a man moving on from a relationship was completely different. Like the situation was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna share this. This is what I have to say, because it doesn't matter what I've been through. What matters is that I've learned and that I share what I've learned passionately and sincerely, and let this be known that I don't give a bleep what people say about me. I love the journey that I'm on, and as a human being, I am blessed with the opportunity to make mistakes and to learn from them. And as a public reminder to everyone that needs to hear it, if people are talking about you or other people in contexts and situations that they have nothing to do with and or know nothing about, let that be a lesson for you that misery loves company, and only bored, sad, lonely, unproductive, no motion, yeah, that pretty much gets it. Yeah, no motion people have the time to gossip. Like, you know what I mean? It's different when you're with your girls, like, you gossip, like, there. But if it's not that, then what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? It's embarrassing. No, I'm kidding. Embarrassment is just a mask, okay? Or embarrassment is a bomb people try to throw on you for their own insecurities and fears and anxieties about being perceived, okay? So take off your mask, be yourself. You are beautiful. I promise you that you are beautiful, you are unique, and that the world needs you, and that there is space in the entire world for all of us. There is space for all of us. There is room in all of the world for all of our success. And if we just try to love even ourselves a little bit more, it would make all the difference. I really, 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 really think that. I really think that. And on that note, I feel like I don't have that much more to say. Besides, I feel really good, like, during this full moon. My cute journal. But I feel really good. Like, I've had a lot of change in my life, but like, I'm like done being scared, you know? And I go through moments where I'm not scared at all, and then I go through moments where I'm just scared constantly. And after you're like in that moment of being scared constantly, you realize, no, I don't want that, nor do I need that, nor was there anything to be really scared about, right? Like, I literally get to wake up every day and like do the things I love, see the people that I love, be supported, and like try something new, and I have the opportunity to either fail or succeed if I go for it, right? Every day I wake up with the opportunity to go for it. And with that opportunity, I can either succeed or fail, but either one is a win-win. It's a win-win. If you fail, there is an opportunity to learn and to grow and to change. And if you succeed and go on to the next thing. It's all about the climb. There is beauty in the struggle. It's not about the destination, but the journey. The journey it takes to get there. And that's something that I've been reminding myself lately, on and off the mat. And I love when I get to sprinkle that into these podcast episodes, because yoga is something that I always want to talk about, and how that's kind of helped me and guided my life and saved it in a lot of ways. So stay tuned for an episode on that. But I think that I had everything that I wanted to say. I didn't want to get too philosophical because I would be here for like 8 hours, but my thoughts were brewing and it felt good to share them with you guys. So if you have anything on this conversation of social perception, external validation, shame culture. Well, we didn't really talk about shame culture in this, but that is something that I can get into, because I think that as a society, we need to be more shameful. We do. We need to be more shameful. And I think a lot of that comes from a disconnect that most people have with their emotions. And I think being shameful is good. I think it's not good to feel shame when it's forced or thrown upon you. But I think that shame can exist naturally and very eloquently and very graciously too. Like, it's a very gracious emotion if you let it, right? Like, if you do something really wrong, and not necessarily that with your intention, but you do it and it happened and it has the adverse effect that you wanted, and it hurts you or it hurts someone or it hurts the world, or something bad goes wrong. If something bad goes wrong, something goes wrong, right? I think it's beautiful and natural to feel shame about that, right? Shame is kind of one of those remedy emotions. It remedies. It's sort of that catalyst between feeling really bad and really good again. It's like that bridge. It's one of those, that's what I mean by remedy emotion, like a bridge, like a catalyst. Something that brings you back to something. But I think on the flip, if given out and dished out and forced out and shoved down people's throats, it's really heavy. That's the thing too. It's like, if you don't let it pass the way that it is naturally passing, if you don't let it flow and you force it, or you consume too much, or too much is thrown on you, it can really, really, really weigh you down. And it could completely distort who you are, who you think that you are, and make you feel like you lost yourself. And it can also, I think shame, when not dealt with properly or vulnerably, is one of those emotions like anger that once you like let in, like, can really do damage. It can be uncontrollable at times. I don't think it's as relentless as anger. Anger really is. And that's another philosophical debate that I can get to, like all the Stoics and their notions, their thoughts on anger, because I have a lot. But shame is one of those things that has been weaponized a lot, and it's very powerful, and that's because it can be so gracious. But on the flip, when used for the bad, can be so just, horrific. Like, shame can make you feel so insignificant it's beyond one of those emotions that just makes you feel bad, like upset or sad, right? Emotions, powerful emotions like that, that can make you feel a sense of insignificance, are very dangerous. And that's why you have to be so careful about how much you let in and how much of that shame is yours to really carry, because people like to demonize or weaponize shame against other people. And oftentimes people throw their own shame and their own guilt onto other people in attempt to avoid that process of having to deal with it themselves. And if you're someone like me that is very susceptible to energies and to other people's emotions and just to the rest of the world, that can be something that can be really devastating to deal with. But once you sort of zoom in and see it, or zoom out and see it for what it is, once you get that like bird's eye view, you know, you can begin that pursuit of reclaiming your power and reclaiming what it means to be able to feel shame honorably and deeply, and allowing it to pass, accepting shame, but also releasing it. And I learned a lot about shame in a lot of the places that I visited and a lot of the people that I met. And it's funny how shame is used in our world, right? How for men, shame is easily avoidable. For a lot of men, there is a lot of room to escape. Men are some of the greatest escapists in that way. Emotional escapists, right? They're easily able to escape, right? They, you know, let's say you're going through a breakup, you know, it's socially acceptable for a man to move on or go on this sort of like sleep fest, or to kind of just go crazy and off the rockers, or just say something crazy, or fight someone, or just do something really reckless, right? Like, that is kind of socially acceptable. That's just what it is. They don't have to feel shame about that. That's just like what, you know. Think about even in modern discourse about how society allows the sort of rhetoric that we allow male rappers to have, right? When they're just, you know, just completely sexualizing women and drug use and party lifestyle and very destructive, self-destructive behaviors, but it's praised because of the lack of shame that they feel. And whether that is authentic or not, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do for why it's praised, but I have a hard time believing that's really authentic, right? Like, if we're constantly escaping reality, you can't tell me that's authentic. You know what I mean? You can't find yourself by running away. That's my only counter argument. Not only, one of my main counter arguments to that. But men are often praised for being shameless, for not caring, to being cool, to being swag, to being like, you know what I mean? Like, when a man moves on really quickly on after a relationship, or like they can just do something really sporadic and move on the next day like it's nothing. You know, there's not much social commentary or punishment. But if a woman does the same thing, oh my gosh, it's like suddenly World War III was started. Suddenly, she's every bad name in the book. She's a whore, she's a slut, she's stupid, she's good for nothing, she's blase, 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 right? I mean, I don't have to go down the list for you guys to know, but woman, in the world that we live in, you just can't do the same things. sense, like, without being scrutinized differently because of the fact that you're a woman, right? Like, a man can go out, party, get drunk, you know, talk to a bunch of girls, do whatever with a bunch of girls, blah, 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 be crazy, be foolish. But if a girl does the same thing, he can dance all provocatively, take his shirt off, like, walk around, like, you know, whatever, hitting on chicks, just, like, being a menace to society. And, you know, God forbid you're a girl, you go out, you have a few shots with your girl, you're shaking ass in the club, like you got a little poppy or something, like, who knows? Maybe you don't, you're just with your girls, maybe you're just shaking a little ass. Even just shaking ass is, like, basically, like, putting yourself on the stand to be executed socially. Like, if you, which most of the world is, like, it's like you're automatically going to be deemed something that you're not because of the action that you decide to take. And if you're a woman and you like to shake ass and you like to shake what your mama gave ya, well, you know, you got to be prepared for scrutiny, yes, but I mean, a lot of that is just rooted in intimidation, like, and I'm really glad I realized that from a young age, because that allowed me to maintain my confidence forever. Like, I mean, of course, like, you get sad and, like, you wish people didn't say things, but, like, no one could ever take my confidence away from me. Like, because no one could take me away from me. No one knows me the way I know me. No one has been with me. At the end of the day, it is me. It is me and only me that goes to sleep with me, that takes care of me. When I'm sick, nurtures me. When I'm feeling low, picks me up. When I'm feeling good, rewards myself. When I'm feeling whatever, does whatever to make sure that I am feeling my best and that I am at the greatest capacity of functioning that I can be. And that goes for all of you. No one knows you the way that you know yourself. And that relationship should be the most important relationship you have in the world. The relationship with yourself should come first and foremost to everything, because the relationship that you have with yourself will affect every other relationship in your life. In every realm, in every aspect. If you do not care for yourself, if you don't give yourself the time to understand yourself, you can never show up in the way that you can, or that you should, for the rest of the world and for yourself, right? You shouldn't be ruminating about what other people are thinking or everything else that's going outside, right? What you should be thinking about is whether you're doing something with your heart, whether the intention is good, whether it makes you feel good or it feels right. And if it's for the betterment of yourself and the rest of the world. As long as it's done with good intention, like, you know, that's really all that matters. That's really all that matters. And having a deep relationship with yourself takes time. It takes vulnerability. It takes a lot of vulnerability, and it takes courage. It takes courage to sit down with yourself and to extend your arms out to yourself and allow yourself to just pour into yourself and cry and laugh and do whatever it needs to do to feel okay in any moment in time that it needs. What a very beautiful but deeply challenging task to have, to do every day, every single day. But that's the beauty of getting every day, right? Is the beauty to nurture yourself, to be yourself, to express yourself, to become yourself, to grow, to change, to be that fluid being of nature, and to be shameless about it, to be shameless, unbothered, and unworried about the whispers and the echoes of the rest of the world. Tune it out. Tune it out. Tune it out. Your thoughts are already music. They're poetry. Listen to that before you start listening to the other hymns and other sounds of the world. And not to say that what people say doesn't have substance, right? Or have some truth. I think it's good too. I mean, we can't always know everything. And so this podcast episode wasn't to preach not seeing things outside of your perspective. It was to remind you not to dictate your sense of self-worth, or to allow your sense of self-worth to be dictated or dependent on the perceptions of other people. To not subject yourself to the terrorizing, agonizing experience of being fearful of what other people think, and allowing that fear to create meaning or find truth into who you are. It will never be truth. The only truth is you. So who are you? Who are you when you're not performing? That's one of my favorite things to pull out. My favorite thing to pull out, especially when I'm like drinking with my girls. I've done this since I think high school. But whenever I randomly remember it, I have to say it immediately. And it's true, because it's one of those deeply silly but philosophical questions that really can get the mind spiraling. And it's, who are you when you are not performing? Who are you without the mask? And if you just heard that question and you almost had no idea, or there was too much to even think at once, maybe this is your sign to sit down with yourself and start allotting yourself the time to discovering the answer to that question. And I think that once you find yourself on that journey, if you haven't already, it is one of the most rewarding ones. And I mean, that's really what life is all about, right? Just being and becoming who you are. And when you really think about it like that, it's all so simple. It's all so simple. And I can explain it in these fancy words. And, we conceptualize our thoughts, and we create theories. We have theology and philosophy and all these other big systems of thought. But it really is all just so simple when you think about it. And these words that we say are just sounds that we attach meaning to, right? And that we've just passed down over time. But when you really think about it, it's all so simple, and it doesn't have to be spoken about. Because even when there wasn't words, even when there wasn't philosophy or these big established systems of thought, humans have always known that being yourself and nurturing yourself and what it means to have that relationship with yourself is the most important. We've always known that. We've always known how to take care of ourselves. Isn't that crazy? I mean, biologically think about the mechanisms that we are born with, or that are within our bodies, that sustain our life, that are natural to us. Like breathing, right? We come out the womb breathing this air that we know is going to fuel our life. Right? Like we're breathing in this oxygen and we're exhaling the CO2. We're pumping, we're getting that good oxygen into our lungs, into our blood. Our heart's beating, our heart's pumping. Our brain is healthy. Like, that is magic. Like, that is literally magic. We have these systems that protect us. Like, our body is this disease fighting machine. If we're lucky enough to have it function what we call normally, our bodies are these like disease fighting machines. It is designed to protect us. When you get a scratch or a cut, and after a few days your skin starts to heal and it closes up, and after a few weeks or a month or two it's like nothing ever happened, right? When you cut a nail and it grows back, when you cut your hair and it grows back, when you lose a tooth and another one comes in, when you're sick and your body that for that time is fighting off diseases and infections and whatever the case may be, there are all these ways that our body is protecting us, and it's also natural. And that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful to me. So I don't know how I got to that, but I'm gonna end this here because I think I've been talking for a really long time now. But I'm glad that I got to hit on shame culture, because that was something that I wanted to talk about. That's definitely something that I'm gonna have to put in its own episode, because there's a lot more angles that I want to hit on that. But thank you guys so much for listening. I know that was probably like all over the place, but I hope that there was something or a few things that you could take from this and sit with and learn from, maybe, or implement into your own life. I know that this is a conversation that I'm constantly having with myself, and I'm gonna continue to have with myself. And so I'd love for you guys to join the conversation and let me know what you think, or let me know your own thoughts on everything that I said. Or if you have, any other books or articles or readings or videos or theories that relate to this sort of thing, or dive deeper, I would love for you to tell me or share that with me. And yeah, remember to follow my Instagram, Siren Talks Pod. You can find me on TikTok as well under the same username. I am also here on Spotify, so if you're not following me and you're listening to this, hit the follow, leave a comment if you want, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Mwah.